We are going to be doing some more sketching this week. And so for everyone who was frustrated last week working with plaster and you wanted something to change, you wanted to get back doing some drawing, this is your week. We're going to be doing some sketching inspired by nature. So you're going to get outside, either do your sketching outside, or you can take some photos and use those as references for your work. I went outside and took some pictures so I'd be able to show them and kind of how my sketching process works. This is the paper you're going to be using for the sketching. It's just the white paper out of your folder. The other paper you're going to need for this week is going to be your smooth paper for your good pastel copy. I would suggest if you have one of the construction paper pieces left from the charcoal, you could definitely use that. If you don't, you could always just use like some random scrap paper at home. Because it's smooth and flat, you'll be able to get most of the technique down. You're also going to need for your final project this week the pastels out of your kit. All right, let's get started. So we're going to talk about our pastels. These are regular oil pastels, so they are bound with a bit of oil. If you're struggling with them, if you're finding it's not blending as smoothly as you would like, you could always take a Q-tip and dip it into a little bit of vegetable oil and apply it to the top of the work to get it a little smoother. And I'll show you that after I kind of talk about some of the general blending techniques. So when you're working with oil pastel, you generally want to start by applying it in a nice kind of thin layer to be able to build your other colors into it. Okay, you can blend in a couple different ways. One way is by like layering the colors. I also like to kind of sandwich colors by adding that other layer on top that I started with. So then I kind of get like a richer, deeper pink than I would get. So here is a little bit of leftover vegetable oil from last night because it was Cinco de Mayo last night, and so we made some churros and I was frying them. So when you're applying the vegetable oil, it can like take some off. If you really want to kind of like thin out a spot. The only problem with this is that you also want to kind of like go in with your other end of your Q-tip to kind of clean it up. So you can see how I got like a much like smoother blend without having to layer that way. Okay, this is definitely not necessary. You don't want to use too much because it could bleed through your paper and really kind of change the whole look. Okay, so now that we've kind of talked about layering and we've talked about blending using vegetable oil, you really kind of have like the two versions of how to best use oil pastels. So we're going to move on to the next step. My two different sketches, I have my bird on the roof and I have kind of my tulip outline. I think I'm going to do the tulip just because the colors are a little more interesting, and one of the things you do have with the oil pastels is like a lot of range of color. So I'm going to start out by taking this image and putting it onto my paper. And so there are a couple different ways you can do that. You could, if you had an amazingly bright light, you could probably try to like hold it up and sketch through. You could also just redraw it. You could also flip it over and kind of work off the back. to get the image to transfer, but it's super light. If this was a white piece of paper, it'd be a lot easier and that technique would work better. So I think I'm just gonna work on redrawing it. If you want to change up your sketch, if you want to combine your sketches to be able to add different things together, you definitely can. Like, this is your project and these are your choices, right? You get to kind of decide what you want. So once you are done with the initial sketching, you can start going into the project a little differently and working about color. So this was my tulip part, and so it was a very kind of like red, but it also had orange in it, and it also had a little bit of like a pink tone to it and a little bit of red, and the center we almost had like a little like purpley gray. And so I'm going to start with just a little bit of pink around the outside of my leaf. And then I'm gonna add in some of the red. To kind of blend it and try to get that color. And I'm gonna go back with the orange to kind of make it a little more of a reddy red. Okay. I'm going to go in with my Q-tip to do a little bit of blending and kind of smooth out spots. And in some spots, like up here where it's just too orange and I want it to be redder, I'm going to layer some more of the red over top. Okay, as I drew out here, there's kind of a vein of kind of like a darker, almost gray that goes up the center of my tulip. And so I'm going to start by marking in that color with the white. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with just a little bit of black. To help get that vein. And I feel like that's too dark. I don't like it. I'm going to go back in and change it up. So I'm going to go over with the white. And maybe even add a little bit of the pink where it's blending. The nice thing about working with oil pastels is that if you dislike something, it's really easy to kind of color over it and keep changing it until you get it to where you want it to be. I feel like I want to make it a little redder still, so I'm going to go add some orange over top. Okay, and so if I want to get some of that texture that I had in this drawing with the lines, I could go back in with my pencil and add it in. Or I could go in with a toothpick if I want to keep it clean and not lose those lines. You can do some drawing even straight on with your oil pastel to get a line, like that's not something that's you don't want to see. But what you want to make sure is that when you're working on this project, you want to make sure that you're covering the whole page with pastel by the time you're done. That's going to give it the most complete look. Okay, so I'm going to work on doing some more drawing and I'm going to check in and kind of show you what I've got once we get a little further. I've been working on my tulip. I've been using my drawing and I've been using the laptop to be able to look at the picture that I took. I've kind of been working on building up the textures and kind of adding more to that. Now I'm going to kind of go in with my green and I'm just going to do a little bit of like highlighting and building on my leaves to just add a little more depth in some spots. The white's been really useful for me to kind of build in some of that highlight to help kind of give that texture and to kind of help group objects together so that they read as separate leaves. With the dirt in the background, I used a lot of the vegetable oil and Q-tips, like my Q-tip is smushed. And that's kind of how I've been working on like building up and creating my image. If you mess up, you can always scrape off some too, but building on top and building on top and building on top generally looks the best. Like right here, where these are just the green color, these blades of grass, I'm gonna go in and add in some more with another green just to help make it pop, to make the color look more realistic and not just being one solid color. This is my final picture. I do have a little bleed through at the back from the vegetable oil, so when you're letting it dry, put it on some newsprint or on a countertop. You just don't want to put it on like a bed or an ottoman or something that is covered in fabric. Okay. As always, take some pictures, upload them. You guys are getting so much better at it. I'm really looking forward to seeing your work. I hope you use nature as your inspiration, and I hope that you have some fun trying a new type of medium. All right, good luck, and I'll see you guys soon.